Voice of Change News.
This is Voice of Change Radio, the news read by Amanda Kumalo. A quick look at stories making the headlines. ZEC urges people to inspect voters' roll. In business news, debt resolution process, Zimbabwe meets creditors, development partners. In regional news, aid agencies back United Nations $7 billion appeal for Horn of Africa food crisis. In sports, clash of the titans as Dembare takes on Bosso tomorrow. The news in detail. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission ZEC has 8 members of the public to inspect the voters' roll when the exercise starts on Saturday at 1,594 inspection centers countrywide as the nation gears for harmonized elections to be held by August this year. In a statement yesterday, ZEC Chief Elections Officer Mr. Otwele Slaigwana said the voter inspection program will commence on Saturday and ends next week on Wednesday. In other news, Acting President Dr. Constantino Chiwenga yesterday commissioned the state-of-the-art medical equipment in Harare worth over $12 million, which is expected to improve the country's health delivery system. Commissioning the equipment at the National Pharmaceutical Company NARFEM warehouse in Harare, Dr. Chiwenga, who doubles as the Minister of Health and Childcare, said the new medical equipment would make the country's health system more efficient. Moving on to business news. Zimbabwe will today meet some of its creditors and development partners during a conference aimed at updating them on the country's debt and arrears clearance process. The engagement will be held on the sidelines of the ongoing annual meetings of the African Development Bank AFDB. The interaction, dubbed the Roundtable on Zimbabwe Debt Arrears Clearance, to be held in Sharm el-Sheikh, is expected to run from 5:30 until 7 p.m. In an interview, Finance and Economic Development Minister Professor Mthuli Ncube said the crucial meeting away from home provides Zimbabwe an opportunity to reaffirm its commitment to settle the debt and arrears. Discussions around lithium beneficiation and value addition are expected to top this year's edition of the Chamber of Mines Zimbabwe Annual Mining Conference to be held later this month in Victoria Falls. A number of lithium projects are presently under development in Zimbabwe, with Australia's stock exchange-listed Prospect Resources Arcadia project coming on stream last month. In news beyond our borders, humanitarian agencies are calling for full funding of the United Nations $7 billion appeal for the Horn of Africa during a pledging conference that begins on Wednesday next week, citing a growing crisis and the need for urgent life-saving intervention. The region is facing the worst drought in 40 years, with more than 43 million people in need of assistance in Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya. More than half of those lack access to sufficient food, according to the United Nations. And finally, in sports news, Dynamo's coach Herbert Jompano Marua has challenged his charges to rise to the occasion when they face Highlanders in a rearranged Casolaga Premier Soccer League tie at Baba Fields tomorrow. The two giants were supposed to meet in the first installment of the Battle of Zimbabwe last month, but the fixture was shelved to pave way for the Independence Trophy final contested between them in Mount Darwin on April 18. That brings us to the end of this bulletin.
Voice of Change News.